Hello, PJP2 families. Thank you for joining us for this part one of our virtual town hall to address your questions. I'm Jill Wentzel, and I'm the acting vice principal here at PJP. Joining me today is Mrs. Patricia Tarquinio, acting principal at PJP. All right, let's get started, Mrs. Tarquinio. The big question that we have had is about masks.
Yes, so thank you for starting with that. I wanted to address that when the plan first came out. There have been some changes since then, and we've adapted the plan accordingly. The big change is that the governor has required that everybody in a building be masked all day. So that's what we'll do. So to help you with that, we have issued a PJP2 spirit mask for every student and every faculty member and every staff member in the building. They will be worn during the day in the classroom, and the kids will also be safely distanced 6 feet apart in their cohort. So we're basically doing everything that is recommended for safety in the building. To help with some of the anxiety that parents have been expressing regarding mask wearing all day, there'll be opportunities for mask breaks during the day. So the teachers will be encouraged to take the children outside for some outside education or just some fresh air breaks during the day. The children will obviously have their masks off during snack time, at which point they'll be safely distanced. And grades 1 through 8 during lunchtime will be in the MPR, which we have fitted with plexiglass barriers to allow for safe distancing at the tables. And then during recess, where the children will be able to have their masks off outside. If they choose, if you'd like your child to wear their mask outside, then that's your choice to make. But they will be safely distanced in 4 cohorts, also on the recess yard.
When it comes to masks, if we're providing the one PJP mask, can we have extras? Can I have my names embroidered on them?
Of course. So one mask, what we're learning as a community is one mask is not going to do it for a whole week. We're giving you a mask to get you started and to help you in all of this. But if you have different masks, then your children can wear them. Certainly put your name on. We are buying lanyards for the little ones, pre-K and K, so that they can clip it to their mask so that if they have to take it off for a break, it doesn't land on the floor or get mixed with somebody else's. It'll be attached to a lanyard around their neck.
That's great. You mentioned a word that I'm not really familiar with, and that word is cohort. Can you explain what cohort means?
Yeah, so cohort you want to think about as kind of like a family, a group of people who work together and dwell together for a common objective. In school, a cohort is a homeroom. So the children in one homeroom will stay together all day. They'll arrive together, they'll come into their classroom, they'll stay together in their classroom, they'll move as a cohort to the bathroom, they will go as a cohort to lunch, and then they'll be dismissed as cohorts. When they're transitioning from place to place, they'll be safely distanced in the hallways, and all times for transitions will be scheduled amongst cohorts, so there's limited crossover of cohorts in the hallways. Specials teachers and other people like Mrs. Pernisi or myself who might have to enter the cohort will be the only thing that will enter in and break the cohort, but the specials teachers will go into the cohort instead of the children going to other rooms to minimize exposure by walking around the hallways.
How about arrival? I feel like that's going to be different. How is arrival going to work?
Well, it's going to be a little bit different, and it's going to be a little bit the same. So arrival is really going to start in the home. So parents, you're going to begin your child's day with a health check. So you'll take their temperature, and there'll be a form, a Google form that will be pushed out by each homeroom teacher or cohort, and you will respond to that. There's I think a 4 or 5 point checklist, my child's temperature, and questions regarding any of the symptoms of COVID that are in the plan, and you'll submit the health check to your teacher, so that starts the day. If everything's good and they're able to come to school, they'll either come on their school bus, depending on what your district provides, or you'll drive them to school. And if they're coming on the bus, we will meet them outside and bring them in safely distanced, one group at a time. And if you're in Carline, our fabulous, fun and friendly Carline staff will be outside to greet you in their traditional festive wear, and they'll bring the children safely into the building and escort them to their cohorts.
Wonderful. What if the busing is extended? What'll happen in the homeroom while we're waiting for the
Right,
rest of our
so
children?
unfortunately we have no control over busing. It's a service that's provided to us by the public school districts. I don't yet have any information as to what that's going to look like with districts that are not opening until the fall. But we're here. If you can get them to us, we'll take them. If it takes a little longer because your bus schedule is, different than usual, or if it's longer to drive them here because that's a complication that you have, the students who arrive first will have independent work that they can do in their cohort. And when we have everybody in, or most people in, who are attending physically that day, we'll begin instruction in earnest. And the same thing with dismissal. If it has to be staggered a little bit, after prayers, there'll be some activities for the kids to work on in their cohorts as we have a safe and orderly dismissal from the building.
How about hand washing? We know that that is one of the most important things that we can do to keep ourselves healthy. How are we set up for that?
Well, hand washing is always a good idea, even pre-COVID, especially in a school setting. So we've installed hands-free hand sanitizing dispensers at every classroom door. And there's a sink in every classroom, as you know. So the children will have opportunities and be encouraged and supervised by their teacher to wash their hands during the day, especially on transitions after touching materials, before and after snack, before and after lunch, and certainly when we take a visit to the bathroom, reminders, encouragement, and supervision as necessary for washing their hands in the bathroom.
I think that might be all of my questions for this first part.
So I did want to talk a little bit about uniforms, because we do understand that it will be a big change for the children to wear a mask all day. And it's required, and it's healthy, and it's safe. So we do want to help them in that endeavor. So to do that, we're going to loosen the uniform restrictions a little bit, make them a little bit more informal. There's a lot going on up here these days. So we thought it would be helpful if we had the boys not required to wear their tie. So the boys do not need to wear their tie. And also, if you've experienced mask wearing, it is warm. It does change how you feel. So you don't have to, the children don't have to wear their sweater vests or cardigans, even into the fall. If we should get that far and we're still dealing with all this, they can just wear their PJP2 polos and their school pants, or shorts if it's in the summertime, or their school pants in the fall, and their PJP2 polo. You can also choose to wear your gym suit, certainly on gym day, or even if it's not gym day, to alternate between your uniform and your gym uniform to properly launder everything and keep everybody safe.
Speaking of keeping everybody safe, and this just kind of reminded me, how are we going to monitor the health of our school community? How are we going to make sure that if someone isn't feeling well, that they are safely taken care of?
Good question. So the parent will start that process at home, as we said. The teachers also in each classroom will have an infrared thermometer, and we'll do midday health monitoring checks. So they'll take the children's temperatures and they'll monitor them for the symptoms. Just ask them those questions. Are you feeling tired? You have a sore throat? How's your breathing? Just a quick check. Anybody who presents with symptoms or has an elevated temperature will be removed gently from the classroom. We're going to have a health monitoring room where the kids can be separate from the rest of their cohort. It won't be the nurse's office, because the nurse's office is supposed to be specific to kids who have non-COVID related issues like medications and boo-boos and things like that. But anything else will be in the health monitoring room, and staff there will wait with them, and their parent will be called, because any symptoms that appear to be COVID will have to have the child go home and either be quarantined, or if the symptom presents, reveals itself as something else, then they can return to school. If they have continuing COVID symptoms, they'll have to be quarantined until such time as they don't, which can be up to 2 weeks. During that time, they will receive virtual instruction from their classroom teacher.
There's a lot of what ifs in this whole situation. For specific situations, what if this child is quarantined? What happens to the cohort? Is there a place that's just an easy place to go to find that information for all those what ifs?
There is, and I think the biggest anxiety provoking thing of all of this is that we just don't know everything, and I think that's why people are so upset. I know it's why I have concerns, because we just don't know. We'll know as it evolves, and we'll respond accordingly. Our response will come based on the guidelines from the CDC and the Chester County Health Department. Now, those we published for you in the plan that we gave. I think it's on page 16 of the bigger plan that has the chart on it that has the CDC's guidelines and the Chester County Health Department guidelines, and then PJP2's response to those guidelines. So, and you can refer to that at any point if you have any questions, and we certainly will, as we have all these different scenarios arrive. And always, parents, if there's any question about anything as things unfold, then just contact the school and we'll be happy to talk to you about that.
Great. Well, I think that's all I have for part 1. So thank you very much, Mrs. Tarquinio. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you very soon for part 2.